Prostitute, attitudes, latitude, we the truth will stay the same instead of change our ways. Devil take Chinese food and warm beers. Public eat and drink up with no kids. Society is only good anyway, so do whatever they want.
The Golden Debate Show. Yeah, the Golden Debate Show. Wow.
Like, comment, share, and download Golden Debate Show. We are live from Cuba Region 1. Like, comment, share, and download it. Stay open minds, not empty ones. Let's get it.
Golden Debate Show. Wow.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Golden Minutes, bringing you the news that you need to know every day. Let's begin. We are seeing reports of multiple nations increasing the movement of key assets and troops in preparation for what could become a strong multinational offensive against Islamic militants in Iraq and the declaration of a caliphate that would be led by what Sunni Muslims believe to be as a successor to Muhammad. The declaration, including a worldwide call for faithful Sunni Muslims to cooperate with and support the creation of an Islamic State, remains mostly untouched throughout regional and international media with mostly unbiased discussion over the issue. However, reports show that multiple nations throughout the Middle East are moving military assets throughout their nations and along their borders, some in apparent cooperation with the possibility of U.S. airstrikes, leading military analysts to warn that action against the violent Islamic uprising throughout Iraq may come at any moment. In related news, as reports of sectarian violence increase within the nation of Iraq, economists are expecting a drastic increase in the price of oil following confirmation that Islamic militants with ISIS had taken control of Syria's largest oil field and are actively engaging security forces over other fields throughout the region. Officials within multiple North American states are declaring extreme drought conditions and the possibility of emergency measures if conditions worsen. While research that we trend indicates that drought conditions throughout many of the affected states are somewhat cyclical in nature, production reports that we're seeing show a noticeable decline in the production of many of the world's staple food products, leading experts to warn of drastic food inflation and the possibility that many conditions, including a worsening global economy, may lead to continued hardship around the world and the need for self-sustainment and home gardens worldwide. In related news, as experts warn of the correlation between rising food prices and regional unrest, states across the U.S. are experiencing an up to 10% blanket increase in food costs, leading researchers to warn that unless controlled, North American food costs may soon move beyond the scope of a citizen's ability to pay and may increase the likelihood that citizen frustration will mold into resentment and eventually into discontent throughout the continent. Officials in Ukraine are raising international tensions following the announcement that the Ukrainian military believes that Russia is purposefully allowing anti-government militants to attack Ukrainian assets from within Russian borders. And to wrap things up, the Department of Health in the Philippines has advised Muslims to postpone or cancel plans to attend a Hajj pilgrimage in the Middle East for fears that a large influx of people may resume a currently dormant outbreak of the MERS coronavirus. Officials are planning to raise fuel prices in Egypt up to 78%, leading to fears of social unrest. And a 6.6 in Papua New Guinea completes today's quake.
While the Washington Monument is probably the most well-known Egyptian obelisk standing in America, there is another lesser-known obelisk. This one stands in New York City's Central Park and is called Cleopatra's Needle and is actually an authentic Egyptian obelisk created 3,500 years ago and brought to New York in the 1880s, standing 70 feet tall and weighing 220 tons, symbolizing the Illuminati's rule in New York. A similar Cleopatra's Needle stands in London, one stands in Paris, and of course there's that one standing in the Vatican City, symbolizing the Illuminati's rule over those regions. The strange story of Cleopatra's Needle, coming all the way from Egypt to New York, dates back to the 1880s when the commissioner of the Parks Department, a man named Henry Stebbins, just decided it would be cool to have the obelisk shipped over and installed in the park. So here's the leader of the IMF. He started a campaign about monetary.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.
Numerology and other occult stuff.
You can tell I do as I'm told. And I thought I had to stand up at the time when my immediate predecessor would sit down, and clearly I failed. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me with you. I would like to thank the National Press Club and especially President Angela Grilling-Keane for not only inviting me to this prestigious venue, but essentially presenting the outline of what I want to talk to you about now. So it's as if we had prepared that together, which we have not. Now, let me first of all, of course, begin by wishing you all a Happy New Year. I guess it's still time to do that, given that we are just exactly halfway through between our Western New Year and the Lunar New Year, which will loom in a few weeks' time. I think it's also appropriate to wish ourselves a Happy New Year, given what I would like to talk to you about, which has to do with the global economy and what we should expect for 2014. Now, I'm going to test you numerology skills by asking you to think about the magic 7. Okay? Most of you will know that 7 is quite a number in all sorts of themes, religions, and I'm sure that you can compress numbers as well, in many respects. It will mark the 100th anniversary of the First World War back in 1914. It will mark the 70th anniversary, drop the 0, 7, of the Bretton Woods Conference that actually gave birth to the IMF. And it will be the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall.
People, I can 25th. Do a better job through your speeches.
It will also mark the 7th anniversary of the financial market
people behind you, support system, conferences, conventions, you had red state, blue state.
Calamity since the Great Depression. The crisis still lingers. Yet, optimism is in the air. We've left the deep freeze behind us, and the horizon looks just a bit brighter. So my hope and my wish for 2014 is that after those 7 miserable years, weak and fragile, we have 7 strong years. Now, I don't know whether the G7 will have anything to do with it, or whether it will be the G20. I certainly hope that the IMF will have something to do with it.
All right. Was that weird or what? I mean, it was one strange introduction by a world leader to a speech before the National Press Club. Now, she starts out, she says, I do as I'm told. I think she clearly is sending the message, I've been ordered to make this speech. I've been ordered to say these strange words. And then she made a reference, she goes, some of you are going to, she alluded to, it's going to sound like we prepared it together, but we didn't. In other words, she was sending another message. This has been prepared. This has all been worked out. And then she's talking about the New Year. She makes this reference between that we're halfway between the Western New Year and the Lunar New Year. She starts talking about the global economy in 2014. She said, I'm going to test your numerology skills. And then she talks about the magic 7 and compressed numbers. She refers to 2014. She says, drop the 0. 14, 2 times 7.
Now, I don't know why this lady has to talk about
will be a milestone, a magic year.
Announcing the commencement of the
Purge
annual
2.
purge.
I didn't still see the first movie because I was brainwashing shit.
Will be legal. Your government thanks you for your participation.
We're stuck outside on Persia.
There's my man Popeye from Down the Rabbit Hole. Check him out on YouTube and other platforms. Golden Debate Show, GoldenShow, That's
awesome.
Gold.
So
that gold,
now,
everybody.
Getting back to the discussion that we were having before the break snuck up on us, you were making a point, and I had to cut you off. So go ahead and rewind back to the beginning of it, just in case, for full context for people, so they have a full idea, of what you mean. And the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking about the situation in Ukraine and all of the chest pumping and the pro-war propaganda that's been coming out of Washington and the mainstream media. Of course, everybody's always ready to fight and die to the last American. And this idiocy. You expect this from the Republican crowd. Again, I said to begin with, Republicans are at least consistent because the Democrats, the left-wingers, the liberals are only pro-war when there is a Democratic president. The Republicans are pro-war when there's a Democratic president a Republican president, or when there's not even a conflict on the field, right? The right wingers are always for war, anytime, anywhere, any place. It's never enough. But you kind of hope for a little more sophistication with people who consider themselves neither one of those parties, right? Whether neither conservative nor liberal. I'm a little something different is what these people will say, whether they're libertarians or Greens or whatever else. Any number of subsets there. But what I saw after the initial Ukraine situation, the annexation of the Crimea by Russia, I saw a lot of chest pumping coming from these quarters too. I mean, I saw a lot of people who consider themselves libertarians calling for increased action in Ukraine, and I saw them saying that Obama is making us look weak. And I would ask, what the hell do you want him to do? The answer would to have not been to initiate this situation.
3 years ago this week, Tom Petty asked Michelle Bachmann to stop using one of his songs at a campaign event. I love those stories. We've had many since, including who was it recently, Lewis, that we did on the show that was using a John Mellencamp song? I think it was Paul Ryan that really likes John Mellencamp?
It's possible. I know Mellencamp. There's a long list of these cease and desist notices.
We have the really famous one, which is, of course, Ronald Reagan using Born in the USA, even though the lyrics were completely opposite in Bruce Springsteen's song to the message of the Reagan campaign and the platform of the Reagan campaign. Bobby McFerrin told George W. Bush Sr. to stop using Don't Worry, Be Happy. Tom Petty, Sting, John Mellencamp, and John Hall all told George W. Bush to stop using the songs. The band Boston told Mike Huckabee to stop using their songs. I actually like the band Boston. ABBA, John Mellencamp, Van Halen, and the Foo Fighters told John McCain to stop using their songs. And Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine commented to Paul Ryan that it's funny that he thinks that that Rage Against the Machine is one of his favorite bands, because he says, "Don't mistake me. I clearly see what Ryan has that Ryan has a whole lot of rage in him. A rage against women, a rage against immigrants, a rage against workers, against gays, against the poor, against the environment. Basically, the only thing he's not raging against are the privileged elite that he's groveling in front of for campaign contributions." Lewis, I think that for as long as we have music and campaign rallies, we will have misuse of music by politicians.
Absolutely. This is going to continue, and I love it every time this happens, because it is a public embarrassment for those politicians.
It's also funny that very rarely do liberals use songs at their campaigns that the conservative artists who are the owners of the rights to those songs ask for a cease and desist. I wonder why that happens, Lewis.
Uncle Adam,
it
Uncle
does
John.
happen,
No,
just not nearly as often.
We should be focusing on what we want to do, which is to isolate and blame Germany for everything.
He only got a little bit of it. Yeah, he only got a little bit.
He mentioned Germany, but he didn't. I think this is why he's got to go.
Yeah, he's out. He's no good.
He's out because he stinks. He's no good.
He's no good. I agree. He's not doing his job anymore. But that does bring me to Germany, if you're interested.
The Constitution.
Definitely.
Well, back to Amy.
The Catholic?
Back to Amy Goodman.
Oh, Amy.
Where was Amy?
Bitching about the Supreme Court.
Amy was in Germany.
Yes, in Bonn.
In Bonn. And when in Germany, what would you do?
Well, you'd meet up with Laura Poitras, for one.
No, not with Laura Poitras. You need to meet up with the new girl, with the new pretty girl on the scene.
Oh.
Who's the new pretty girl?
Sarah Harrison is investigative editor of WikiLeaks and acting director of the newly formed Courage Foundation.
Ho ho! This got me very interested.
Of course.
The newly formed Courage Foundation.
The Courage Foundation. Thank you for your courage.
Yes.
Is their motto.
Thank you for the Courage Foundation. So I, of course, spent
too much time.
Yeah, obviously. But, I like this story. I like this girl because she's obviously an intelligent shill one way or the other. Seven Oaks. Yeah. We know this. But now, here's what we know. She was Julian Assange's girlfriend. She was an intern at WikiLeaks. And now she is not only the investigative editor of WikiLeaks. Let me just hear that again. Amy actually, I think she says it differently.
Sarah Harrison is investigative editor.
Investigative editor?
Of WikiLeaks, and acting director of the newly formed Courage Foundation.
An acting director of the newly formed Courage Foundation. Let us go to the Courage Foundation just for a moment. What is the Courage Foundation and what do you do? You can find under the FAQ section of couragefound.org.
Yeah, we got a lawsuit brewing. The Courage Foundation is actually already been formed. It's in New Hope, Minnesota.
Well,
it's called the Courage Foundation, and the URL is the Courage Foundation.
Yes.
It's different than her Courage Foundation,
which is at couragefound.org. Now,
there's other guys that they look like.
What is the Courage Foundation? What do you do? The Courage Foundation is an international organization that supports those who risk life or liberty to make significant contributions to the historical record. We raise funds for the legal and public defense of specific individuals who fit this criteria and are subject to serious prosecution or persecution. We also campaign for the protection of truth tellers and the public's right to know generally. Blah, 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 blah. Courage is based in Germany, the UK, and the US. So I start to really look into this. The Courage Foundation is just a rebranding, since we're doing rebranding. It used to be known as the Journalistic Source Protection Defense Fund, which was essentially the Julian Assange slush fund.
Great to create friends and family, people that just don't want to believe it. They can do this research for themselves, and they can look up one of these last speeches that he just gave before taking a summer break to an audience of 33,000. And what he states should leave every one of you out there that ever thought he was a holy man knowing better.
Through your speeches, your campaign, you had the media, you had money, you had all these people behind you, support system, conferences, conventions, you had red state, blue state.
And that you cannot seek Jesus alone, that you have to do it through mediation with the church. All he cares about is this church. It is not about Christ. It is anti-Christ, and that is the truth. He goes on to state that you cannot do it. There's no such thing as a do-it-yourself Christian or a free agent. Can you believe it? This man's saying this. He goes on to state that Jesus was brought into the fold as a sign and an instrument of the union of humanity with God and unity with one another. But he goes on to state this, and this is the most appalling part. He describes a dangerous temptation that one would believe that they can have a personal, direct, and immediate relationship with Jesus Christ without communion with the mediation of the church. Can you believe that? Obviously, he said, it is not always easy to walk the path of faith with other people. All he is trying to tell you is this: it is through our brothers and sisters with their gifts and their limits that he comes to us and makes himself known. This is what belonging to the church means. Being Christians means belonging to the church. If your first name's Christian, your last name is member of the church. You guys got that? This man is anti-Christ, against the Christ. He is all about the satanic synagogue that they have created, full of pedophiles and whatnot. This is proof when this man speaks this blasphemy.
Joe Rogan Experience.
When he tries to tell
satellite radio is essentially
everybody got a podcast.
When everyone knows they can get Opie and Anthony
you
every morning.
You cannot do it without him.
You can get on your car if you're in Pittsburgh or if you're in New York, or you can get Howard Stern every day. He has his own. He has 2 channels.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I listening to this local guy? Is this local guy that good? You'll give the local guy 5 minutes. He says one wacky thing. You're like, this dumb motherfucker. And then you're going to turn it to Jim Norton.
I know, because you got to sit through 20 minutes of commercials on regular radio.
Yeah.
Just to hear subpar content. It's awful.
There's only a few good ones left. There's like maybe a dozen in the whole country. There's maybe a dozen radio stations that are worth doing. It's a mess.
Yeah.
And why? What happened? It's because it was censored. They couldn't keep up. You can't compete, man. If you listen to these nut fucks that tell you can't say certain words, you're going to lose us.
Yeah.
There's more of us. Do you not get it? They're really loud, but there's way more people that don't give a fuck. There's way more people that would way rather hear uncensored stuff. That's why when you look at internet videos and they have 1 million fucking hits, that's what all that is. It's like, those are people. Those are the same people that watch NBC.
Right.
Those are the same people that listen to AM radio. They're just fucking people.
They're adults.
Yeah.
They can pick and choose what they want. They don't need you to tell them what's moral.
Abandon ship. Abandon ship. All regulations hereby now abandoned. Programming will now commence. Do whatever the fuck you want. If people like it, they'll watch. If they don't, it's harder to get ABC than it is to get cable.
Yeah.
It's harder. What are you gonna do? You're gonna have antennas? You're gonna get fucking rabbit ears? And do TVs even have those anymore?
I don't know.
So you got to get cable, for a lot of folks, basic cable at least, just to get your local channels.
Yep.
Just to get the big four, right? To get CBS, NBC, ABC, Fox.
You just need an antenna, digital antenna.
Bitch, all you need is the internet. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over. Abandon ship. It's like, you guys, you can't keep this up.
Comedy clubs still think morning radio is something to do, though.
It helps.
It does, right?
It does help if you have a good DJ. If you have a good DJ and they have good people in,
There's other guys.
I mean, it's got to sell tickets. People looking for things to do on Friday night, and they feel like they know you a little bit. You know, they hear you in the morning. They're like, "Hey, that Matt Filtron guy is pretty funny. Let me write that guy's name down."
He got along with Johnny Wild.
Johnny Wild and him had a blast together.
Share it down though. Golden Show, Golden Debate Show. Check out the Golden Cut and the Golden Reel.
Person.
See if I can read this
Johnny Wild.
Yeah, man, they got abandoned
I like
ship.
to read a lot of interesting articles. This one's from beforeitsnews.com. This is the 13 World Mysteries Without Explanation. I'm dropping stuff, but this stuff has pictures and stuff, so I'll put it in the links. Go to earlymortimer.com, and it'll be on the Twitter, or you can do Like It Pack's Twitter. Chinese mosaic lines. These strange lines are found at coordinates. Let me detach my tablet from its base. Are found at coordinates 40 degrees, 93 degrees. There isn't much information available on these strange yet beautiful mosaic lines carved in the desert of the Gansu Serengeti province in China. Some records indicate that they were created in 2004, but nothing seems official of note. These lines were somewhat near the Mango Caves, which is a World Heritage Site. The lines span a very huge distance and yet still retain the linear proportions despite the cultivated of the rough terrain. Unexplained stone doll in July 1889 find in Nembra, Idaho, of a small human figure during a well-dwelling operation caused an intense scientific interest last century. Unmistakably made by human hands, it was found at a depth of 320 feet, which would place its age far before the arrival of man in this part of the world. The find has never been challenged except to say it was impossible. The first stone calendar. In the Sahara Desert in Egypt lie the oldest known astronomically aligned stones in the world. Over 1,000 years before the creation of the Stonehenge, people built a stone circle and other structures on the shoreline of a lake that has long since dried up. Over 6,000 years ago, stone slabs 3 meters high were dragged over a kilometer to create the site. Sewn above is one of the stones that remains. Although the present and western Egyptian desert is totally dry, this was not the case in the past. There is good evidence that there were several human periods in the past when up to 500 millimeters of rain would fall per year. The most recent one during the last interglacial and early last glacial periods would stretch between 130,000 and 70,000 years ago. During this time, the area was a savanna and supported numerous animals such as extinct buffaloes and large giraffes. 300-million-year-old iron screw. In the summer of 1998, Russian scientists who were investigating the area southwest of Moscow for the remains of a meteorite discovered a piece of rock which enclosed an iron screw. Geologists estimate that the age of the rock is 300 to 320 million years old. At that time, there was not only There was not intelligent life forms on Earth, not even dinosaurs. The screw, which was clearly visible in the head and nut, has a length of about 1 centimeter and a diameter of about 3 millimeters. Ancient rocket ship. The ancient cave painting from Japan is dated to be more than 5,000 BC. Sliding stones. Even NASA can't explain it. It's best to gaze and wonder at the sliding rocks on this dry-like bed in Death Valley National Park. Racetrack Plateau is almost completely flat, 2.5 miles from north to south and 1.25 miles from east to west, and covered with cracked mud. The rocks, some weighing hundreds of pounds, slide across the sediment, leaving furrows in their wakes, which is a ditch, but no one has actually witnessed it. Pyramid power. In Mexico, embedded in the walls of this ancient Mexican city are large sheets of mica, and quartz and other things like that, so you can transmit electricity and stuff. The closest place to quarry mica is located in Brazil, thousands of miles away. Mica is now used in technology and energy production, so the question raised is, why did the builders go so extreme to incorporate this mineral into the building of their city? Were the ancient architects harnessing some forgotten source of energy in order to power their city? Dog deaths. Dog suicides at the overturned bridge near Milton Dimbrot, Scotland, built in 1859. The overturned bridge has become famous for the number of unexplained instances in which dogs have appeared to commit suicide by leaping off of it. The incidents were first recorded around 1950s or 1960s, when it's noticed that the dogs, usually the long-nosed variety of collies, would suddenly and unexpectedly leap off the bridge and fall 50 feet to their deaths. Fossilized giants. The fossilized Irish giant from 1895 is over 12 feet tall. The giant was discovered during the mining operation in Ireland. This picture is courtesy of the British Strand Museum of December 1895. Height 12 foot 2 inches. Girth of chest 6 foot 6 inches, length of arms 4 foot 6 inches. There are 6 toes on the right foot, and 6 fingers and 6 toes remain. Some people have the biblical passage. Samuel 21, conferences, conventions. There is yet a battle in Goliath, where a man of great stature had on every hand 6 fingers and every foot 6 toes, 4 and 20 in number, and was born to the giant. Pyramid of Atlantis. Scientists continue to explore ruins of megaliths in the other so-called Yucatan Channel near Cuba. They have found many miles along the coast. American archaeologists who discovered this place immediately declared that they found Atlantis. Now, giants in Nevada. Nevada Indian legend of 12-foot red-haired giants that lived in the area. When they arrived, the story has the Native Americans killing the giants in the cave. Excavations of Garnu in 1911 turned up this human jaw. Here it is compared to casting of a normal man's jaw, and it's way bigger. In 1931, 2 skeletons were found in a lake bed. One was 8 foot tall, the other just under 10 foot tall. Inexplainable wedge on the banks of the Merks River in Transylvania, near the city of Arud in 1974. An aluminum wedge was found among 20,000-year-old mastodon bones, encased in 1 millimeter thick layer of oxidized mud and rock that shows to be at least 300 to 400 years old. Aluminum is always found mixed with other metals, but it was a pure aluminum. This 300-year-old artifact is anomalous because aluminum was not discovered until 1808 and is not produced in quantities until 1885. It's still under research and is an undisclosed location. Laladov plate. The Laladov plate is a 12,000-year-old stone dish found in Nepal.
The obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments.
It's a ghost in the document. Knowledge for you. We keep to the Gold Show. Celebrate your motherfucking 4th and all that. Live for Fever Region 1. We up out of here. GoldenDebateShow.com.
Yeah, what are you talking about? 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 talking about? All day talking like this, like that. All day in your hood. Golden shows, golden robes, strobe lights, laser lights. Look at my gold. Tripping tonight. Apple shit. Early morning. Hold it up. No, he said. We're talking like this. Talking like that. We're talking. Golden debate show. Golden debate show. Golden debate show.
Golden, we out. Coming straight down. We out here. The whole universe is like coming straight down.
Golden show. Golden robes. Golden boss. Golden scroll.